Allow yourself to truly arrive. Your body is here. But what about your awareness? What about your presence? What about your attention? Bring them all here to this moment. Feel yourself anchoring and grounding in the present moment, right here, right now, in this breath. Allow your awareness to just merge fully with the breath as it's flowing in and flowing out. Just bring the fullness of your awareness to this breath. The mind will always try to be distracted. It'll get distracted by sounds. It'll get distracted by sensations in the body. It'll get distracted by your reactions to the sounds you hear, your reaction to the sensations you feel. So don't allow that mind to get distracted. If there's a sound, just draw the awareness back. Don't get wrapped up in it. If there's a sensation, just draw the awareness back to the breath. Don't get wrapped up in the sensation itself or your judgment about it or the story you tell yourself about it. Just keep drawing that awareness to your breath. And just allow the mind to quiet as it anchors in the breath. The world goes around you, but it doesn't impact you on the inside. experience that anchoring deep within yourself, so deeply that there is stillness, even amidst movement. That there is silence within you, even amidst noise outside. Find that place within you that is untouched by the movement in the outer world. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level in Namaste. And gently rub the palms of your hands against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly open the eyes and lower the hands. Welcome to Satsang. And happy New Year, everyone. What a beautiful gift to be together here any day, but especially on the New Year. So we begin satsang always with a question that's come in advance from our family joining online in honor of the fact that they're not fortunate enough to actually be with us here on the banks of Ganga right now. And so in sending them love from here, we begin with one of their questions. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. I so often hear people say that they want peace and quiet in their daily busy lives. But if you spend any time with them, all they do is go on constantly about absolutely nothing, and they even shout. Doesn't the peace and quiet that we are looking for actually begin with ourselves? Of course it does. But a lot of us have no idea how to find it. And the dilemma is that peace and quiet is not, sadly, just being free from noise in the outer world or the noise that your own lips and tongue are making. You could be far from the nearest neighbor No one in ear sight. Your lips and mouth could be closed. You could have earplugs in your ears, not that you would need them at that place, but you could put them in there anyway. And sadly, for so many of us, we still wouldn't be in peace and quiet. Because most of the noise that actually troubles us is the noise of our own heads, the noise of our own minds. The noise in the world around us isn't nearly as troubling. It may be ever so slightly distracting, especially if you're trying to meditate until you really develop an ability to anchor within even when there is noise. But it's not that noise that actually troubles us or that steals our peace. It's not random people having a conversation over there, or a child randomly crying over there, or a dog randomly barking over there. That which actually steals our peace is the noise in our own heads. And sadly, that's with you wherever you go. And so a lot of us don't even know the experience of peace and quiet. And so it would never occur to somebody to stop talking or to stop shouting, because even when they do, they're not in peace. They're still shouting in their minds. They're still constantly talking in their own minds. And that's why we do spiritual practice. It's why, sadly, the answer to peace and quiet is not actually just an absence of outer noise. If that were the case, people living in places with very, very low populations would be distinctly more peaceful. I mean, you'd be able to graph it based on the number of people per square kilometer and the peace that people experienced. But I don't think there's any such graph that shows that, people living in barely populated areas actually experience a deeper sense of peace and joy in their life, a deep quiet in their life, than people living in more packed areas experience. I don't think so. It'd be an interesting study in any case, but I don't think it would bear out. I think that people living in suburbia are, in most cases, just as stressed and just as upset and just as likely to be yelling at each other and on antidepressants or anti-anxiety pills, or to commit suicide, or to be getting divorced, or whatever the markers would be of unhappiness in our lives. I don't think that they're any lower the more likely you are to live in the suburbs or a sparsely populated area. It's an internal quiet. And that's why we meditate. It's why we pray. It's why we do our japa, our chanting. It's so that we actually can experience that sense of peace within the chaos, noiselessness amidst the noise. So if somebody's looking for peace and quiet, but they keep talking, what you can be pretty sure of is that the noise that's troubling them is not the noise of their own voice, but it's the noise in their own heads. And that until they find that, they're not really going to find the peace and quiet. But of course, if you're going to meditate or pray or do japa, one of the first criteria is you've got to close your mouth. You've got to stop talking. So we do have to stop the constant chatter if we're going to find that sense of quiet within. It's the first step. but it doesn't give it to us automatically. Questions? Here, anyone with any questions here? Yes.
Actually, my question is how to increase the involvement, whatever I do in my daily work, especially to those tasks and work which we don't like to do every day. So how to increase my involvement in doing those work and tasks?
Great. Yeah. We disengage, we disconnect from tasks that we do every day that we don't enjoy. She says how to increase my involvement in them so that I'm not disconnected from them, right? Recognize the opportunity to turn that task into a meditative experience. So imagine that you've got to wash dishes, for example. Now there's two ways to wash dishes. One way to wash dishes is, oh my God, I can't believe I'm the one doing this again. Like, why is it me every night? This is so unfair. Look at them, they're sitting out there watching TV and I'm the one who has to be doing the dishes. And that's one way to do it. Another way to do the dishes is to allow yourself to actually become so mindful, so present, so attuned with the feel of the warm sudsy water, the rhythmic motion of the washing. And it actually becomes a meditation. It's not about something that just needs to be done as quickly as we can get it done. The more we focus on just isko niptana, the less connected I'm going to be to it. काम को इसी तरह से मत लो कि निपटाना है उसको. As long as we think about our work as just something to be checked off our to-do list, we'll never actually be able to bring our mindfulness into it. Because then it's just about getting it done, just getting it done. Just getting it done. All right, 1 dish, 2 dish. All right, I'm almost done, halfway done. But instead, take literally every moment as an opportunity for mindfulness, for presence, an opportunity to chant your mantra. Washing dishes, cleaning the house, doing all sorts of menial tasks are actually perfect times for meditation in action. Because if you're on a computer solving complex mathematical equations, or, copy editing a very dense piece of text, it's going to be hard to simultaneously be chanting a mantra. It's going to be hard to simultaneously be feeling that you're just anchored in the breath, anchored in the moment. The mind is going to be so focused on the task at hand, which is also beautiful. There's a power in what we call a flow state, which is when you're doing those sorts of tasks that really engage all of you into it. But the menial tasks have their own beauty, which is this opportunity to just use them as ways of meditation, to take them as meditation in action, washing dishes, meditation, sweeping the floor, meditation. There's a beautiful story of a seeker who's been in search of a very, very wise master, and everyone directs him to this master who lives in this cabin in the woods, a monk. And the man gets to the cabin and he knocks on the door and nobody answers, and he waits and still nobody answers, and finally he hears a noise in the back of the cabin. So he goes around to the back and he sees a man chopping wood. And he says to the man, "I'm looking for the master such and such." And the man chopping wood says, "That is what some call me." And the man can't believe it, because this guy looks like an ordinary guy chopping wood. Like he had expected to see somebody, sitting in lotus posture like this, and instead he finds the master chopping wood. And he says to the master, "Well, I don't understand. What was your life like before you got enlightened?" And the master said, "I used to chop wood and gather water." And the man says, "Well, so now what do you do?" And he says, "I chop wood and I gather water." And the man says, "What do you mean? Like, then what's the point?" And the master says, that identification with the I is no longer there. It used to be I was the one who did it. I was the wood chopper. I was the water collector. Now, wood is being chopped. Water is being collected. Action is happening. But there is no I. And I share that story because I've heard it told in a variety of different ways, but the moral is always the same, which is it doesn't actually matter what you're doing as long as you do it with that meditative frame of mind. So it's not like, well, before I got enlightened, I was stuck being the wood chopper and the water collector, and then I got enlightened, and now I just meditate, and everybody else chops my wood and gathers water for me. Now I just bless people and they bring me the water in the wood. No. I still do that. But the entire way I do that is completely different. That's enlightenment. It's all about how you live. And so take those menial tasks that you have and use them as opportunities for meditation. Opportunities to just allow dishwashing to happen. So it's not, oh my God, I can't believe it, I have to wash the dishes again. But it's just, dishwashing is happening. I am the witness of it. I am the one aware that dishwashing is happening. I am the one aware that sweeping is happening, that cleaning is happening. It's just happening. And if you can switch into that, then on the one hand, you'll be much more deeply engaged, but you won't be stuck with it, and there won't be drama around it. And you won't be waiting for it to end. Other questions? Yeah. Beach maybe.
What can we do when a person stops thinking this life is worth to live?
What can you do when a person, I'm so sorry?
When we start feeling that this life is not worth to live.
What do you do when you start feeling like life is not worth living? You get help. You get help immediately. Immediately. You find family members, friends, a hotline, whatever you need, so that you have the time to relearn how worth living life is. Because the dilemma, the tragic dilemma with decisions like suicide is we don't actually allow ourselves the time to see things in a different way. It's like deciding at midnight that you've waited long enough for the sun to rise. Or waiting a little longer, but deciding at 3, fine, forget it, I held on till 3 o'clock. I've waited for the sun to rise, forget it, there is no sun coming. I'm going to end it. What you need at that time is someone who can just sit with you for another few hours until the sun actually rises. Sometimes it's, in the case of deep depression, it can be days. It can be weeks. It can be months. But we absolutely have to find a way to hold on, knowing that there will come a time, whether it's hours, days, weeks, or months later, in which we say, thank God. Thank God I am still here. Thank God that person, that phone call, that hotline number, thank God for this, for that, whatever it may be. Because, oh my God, if I had gone through with it, I wouldn't be here to experience this. The vast majority of us, many more than you would think, go through moments in our life in which we feel like, what is the point of it all? We may not all necessarily really seriously contemplate suicide, but a lot of us do. A very large percent of people actually seriously contemplate suicide. Because there are times in our life when it just seems like that sun is never going to rise. Nothing's going to change. But the nature of nature is it always changes. That is the nature of creation. It always changes. That's good when things are really bad. It's not so good when things are really good. But whatever moment we are in, that saying of this too shall pass is really true. The situations, the circumstances, the things in our world are in constant flux. And so if the sense of life is not worth living, there's two main directions it comes from. One direction is outside, one direction is inside. And so at the risk of oversimplifying, the first group is life isn't worth living because I will never get out of this situation. I am in a family situation, a work situation, a financial situation, a cultural situation, whatever it may be, that is unbearable to me. And that I will, in my mind, I will never get out of it, will never change. What I can tell you is it will always change. Because things always change. But also to recognize that there may be a power you have to change an external situation that you don't realize you have. There's a beautiful story of a little boy who's playing in a sandbox in his front yard. And somehow this massive rock has landed up in his sandbox, and he's very upset by it because this rock is big and it's taking up a lot of his sandbox and it's not allowing him to properly play. And he keeps trying to lift up the rock, but he can't. And his dad is watching him from the upstairs window, just watching his child. And the poor boy keeps trying to move the rock, but the kid is tiny, the rock is big. And he tries to push it and pull it and lift it, and the thing just doesn't budge. And finally the boy just breaks down sobbing. At which point his dad, of course, comes down and picks him up and says, "What's the problem?" And the boy says, "There is absolutely no way to move this rock." And the dad says to him, "Have you used all of your resources? Have you used everything you have?" And the boy says, "Yes, I have." And his dad says, "You haven't used me." And the dad bends down and he picks up the rock and moves it out of the sandbox. And I love that story because it reminds us of the miraculous power of the universe. And whether we say God in a particular name or form, or just spirit, or just divinity, or just power, energy, whatever word we use, to say there is no way out of this situation is to deny both my own power, because, for example, even if the boy didn't have a father, okay, he might not be able to move the rock today, but give the kid a few months, maybe a couple years, and he'd be able to lift it himself. So even left only to his own devices, if he actually waited long enough, he personally would be able to remove the rock. But in the meantime, he also had other resources. And so when things outside of us seem insurmountable, that they make life not worth living, it means that we're not realizing, number one, the real power we have. And we may not be able to access it in this exact moment, but we will soon if we put our minds to it, fearlessly. It sometimes takes courage. I mean, you take, for example, the example of a woman being abused by her husband. It's a common example. Many women feel, I'll never get out of this. They don't have the resources. Maybe they don't even have the money to support themselves. And so maybe immediately they don't have the resources. But for example, one of the things that we are doing, that our organization does, is help women learn skills to give themselves the opportunity to get out of situations like that and still be able to support themselves and their children. But even otherwise, there's organizations that help. I mean, it's just an example, but she has a lot of resources. If she can get over the fear of what's going to happen to me if I leave this situation. So that's as far as external situations. Either have faith they will change on their own because it's the nature of nature, or realize that there is a power within you, or a power in God, in the universe, that isn't yet fully tapped to help change that situation. But then the other reason that a lot of times people feel like there's no point is from an internal situation. They feel, I will never feel happiness. This depression, this anxiety, this addiction will never leave me, and therefore life is not worth living. And those are indications that you really, really, really need to reach out your arms and get help. Because there is help. Whatever the internal situation may be, I guarantee you, there is help, there is hope. And I say this to you as someone who herself has suffered internally, has suffered externally, has had thoughts of ending it all. And I now think back and I think, oh my God, can you imagine if I had done that? Can you imagine if at 19, 20, 21, when I was having those thoughts, if I actually had thought that was all my life was going to be? I'm so grateful to the divine every day that I was able to be pulled out of it. And there's no one I know, and I know a lot of people who have struggled with both external situations and internal situations that seemed insurmountable and have thought about actually ending it all. And there's no one I know, not even one situation ever I have experienced, where someone says, God, I wish that I had taken my life when I had a chance. I wish that I had ended it all. 100% of them, every single one, always says, oh my God, thank God I didn't do it. So you have to hang on, and you have to get help. Do not think it's up to you. If you've got family, friends you can reach out to, great. If not, we are here. There are hotlines. I mean, wherever people are watching this from in the world, there's so many resources and people who are there to catch you. Your life is a precious gift, given not by mistake, by the divine. And of course, as we believe very deeply in karma and reincarnation, if you end it now, you just have to come back and do it all over again. So you're not actually getting out of anything. You're not actually making things any better. All you're doing is making them worse, because you're just going to come back and have to relearn exactly the same lessons, but now with the additional added karmic baggage of having thrown away the preciousness of your life. So hold on to it. It's the most precious gift in the world. Yours very specifically. Other questions? Yeah.
Namaste, Sadhviji. I'm thankful for all the blessings of New Year and being here. And like it's a little bit new beginning. And before the Christmas time, I received one more blessing for one Swamiji I know from my past in India. And he really spontaneously named me Padma. And I didn't know what does it mean, but I felt like I should accept it. And
What is the name he gave?
Padma.
Padma.
Yes. And I didn't know what does it mean. I just said like, thank you very much, I'm accepting this name. And just later on, I researched what is the meaning. Very beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yes, and really deep, and wow. And I felt like this, I really relate somehow during my past art and being in the present here in India. I feel like I have this relation. But my question is like how to use that name, how to make it really precious and that it can, I think, somehow embrace myself. But
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Padma is the lotus flower. In yoga, there's the posture Padmasana, right? So that's the lotus position. Padma means lotus, and the lotus flower is a very special flower because it grows in the muck. If you see a lotus, it's this beautiful, beautiful, usually white, exquisite, multi-petaled flower that is literally growing out of the dirtiest, muckiest water. And the lesson that we're all given is, be like the lotus. So many of us think in order for me to be peaceful, calm, spiritual, happy, I need the world around me to be different. It's like we were talking at the beginning about the silence and the noise. And Padma reminds us, you don't need anything from the outer world. It's all the inner world that matters. Even growing in the muck, in the dirtiest of the dirty, you can still be fresh, pure, clean, exquisite blossoming. And that's the teaching of Padma, is don't worry about whether it's mucky around you, dirty around you. Don't try to change everybody around you, but just you grow as the beautiful lotus flower. You grow as that flower. And you have the ability to grow as this beautiful, pure, untouched, exquisite being. No matter what world you come from, no matter what's going on in the world around you, no matter anything, however much muck may be there, you can grow as this beautiful flower. And that's the meaning of Padma. Beautiful. Congratulations. A beautiful new name and a beautiful new beginning. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. I am traveling abroad to the US tomorrow night. I will be out for a few weeks, so we will not be having satsang for the next few weeks. A few days, a couple of days before I'm back, we will start to put things on social media, letting people know that satsang is going to be starting again. So watch, our pages on social media. We'll get it up when we're starting again. I encourage you all, of course, to keep coming to the Ganga Arati every night anyway, if you're blessed to be staying here for a longer period of time. Because of course when I'm back, I'll come and invite you all in to satsang again. But if you're not going to be here continually and you're coming in from other cities, just keep watching. Watch Parmarth's pages, watch my pages, and we'll get things up. It'll be within a few weeks. So we'll keep you all posted. And until then, so much love to you all. So much love. And we always do try to do some online lives when I'm out anyway, so watch for announcements on social media for that as well, and you can come in online and ask questions in that way as well. They have a fun way with the tech of bringing people in to ask questions online. And have a really, really, really beautiful beginning of your new year.